Hi, this is Marilyn Woodruff with At Knits and Designs, and I'm here to talk to you today about the Zig Scarf. There's just a couple things to chat about. The scarf is really quite straightforward, and it's a very quick knit. So the first is your yarn choice. This version of the scarf was used an assigned pooling colorway, but I didn't do anything special with the assigned pooling. You can see all the way across here, I just knitted them like they were normal stitches. And you can do that. If you choose to do that, you don't even have to use an assigned pooling colorway. You can use any kind of yarn that you have. Variegated yarns or speckledy yarns would look really cool in this because of this zig pattern going across the center. But you can see assigned pooling really works because you get these stripes that really accentuate the direction of the knitting changing. You can also use an assigned pooling yarn with an assigned pooling stitch. And that's what I show in this particular swatch. So this is the exact same pattern, and this is actually using the crosshatch stitch in the assigned pooling section. If you choose to do the assigned pooling, you will only do that stitch in the stockinette section. So as you can see right here, I'm in the garter section, and so I just knitted straight across. And the reason for that is you still want to get this upward motion across the middle part of the scarf. And you lose that a little bit if you only do assigned pooling. So every time you do this garter stitch, if you just go ahead and knit normally, then you'll still have that same kind of motion of the striping that this plain version has, but you're also able to add in this stitch. So first thing we're going to talk about, other than yarn, is the CDD stitch that is in this particular scarf. And that stitch is marked by this second stitch marker. So on this side of this pattern, you're going to always be doing make one, knit one, make one. On this side of this pattern, you're always going to be doing a CDD stitch. The thing that's a little bit odd about this is where this marker sits. So this marker can become kind of finicky and fiddly. I personally don't like things that are fiddly, so I knit this without this marker. And the way that I do that, once I've established the CDD, it's very clear to me that where this stitch marker belongs. It will always sit to the left side of the CDD stitch. Therefore, if I take it out, I can use this stitch as kind of my automatic marker. And when I do that, I follow the pattern just as normal, and I knit to 2 before where my marker would be, which is right after this spine stitch, and I work my CDD normally. So feel free to take this marker out once you've established this if you feel like you would like to do so. One thing to note, if you choose to, when you take that marker out, on the wrong side, you still have to purl this spine stitch. So the way you identify the spine stitch is twofold. First, once you've established it, you can really tell where that thing is down the back. But you can also look very closely at the stitch. Let's see if I can get it in focus up here. And you can see that it's got 2 wraps of yarn on it, where all the stitches up to it only have 1 wrap of yarn on it. So even without the stitch marker here, it's very clear to me that this is the stitch that I need to purl. So feel free to be adventuresome and take out this particular stitch marker if you find that it's causing you more trouble than time saving. Feel free to use it if you would like to use it. There's nothing wrong with using it at all. It's a total personal choice. All right, the other thing that I want to talk about is the crosshatch stitch. So I'm going to change to my other sample, and I want to show you this crosshatch stitch. So this crosshatch stitch looks identical, and it's worked identically whether you're on the right side or the wrong side of the work. You can tell that whether I'm on the right side of the work or the wrong side of the work, the hatches will go in different directions when I finish them, but that's the only difference in how I work them. So what we're going to do is only work them in the stockinette area. You can see when I'm over here on the edges, I always just knit normally, and I try to stay inside each of these edgings by at least 1 or 2 stitches on both sides. That way I don't ever have my crosshatch stitches running into my CDD or into the spine on this other side. So when you're in the stockinette section only, feel free to do the assigned pooling stitch, which is this crosshatch stitch. All right, I've made it on the right side of my work to my assigned pooling color, and now I'm ready to work the crosshatch stitch. I'm going to work the crosshatch stitch into individual stitches on the needle by knitting or purling into the stitch, depending on whether I'm on the right or wrong side row, and wrapping my yarn extra loops around my right hand needle. So I'm on the right side row, so I'm going to knit the stitch normally, which would look like this, but instead of slipping it off, I'm going to wrap it 2 more times. So I have 3 wraps of yarn, and then I'm going to pull it off my needle. I'm going to wrap 1, 2, 3, and knit it off. I'm going to continue doing this until all of that color is used. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So for this one, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stitches on the needle. You don't always have to have an even number. If you do have an even number, then your crosshatches will be even. If you have an odd number, then we'll do an odd over an even. Either way, it works just fine. So play with your yarn and see if you like it to have some color coming in or leaving the tails, or if you want to wrap all of those colors. But once you decide what you want to do, that is all we will need to do on this row. We will resolve these stitches on our next row, which will be a wrong side row. All right. I have now purled back to the stitches that I made on my right side row. And to resolve these, I'm going to simply slip them off purlwise, slipping off all loops. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now I have 6 very elongated stitches on my right needle. I'm going to use my left needle tip to take the inside 3 over the outside 3. If I have an odd number of stitches, I'm going to take more over fewer. So if there were 7 here, I would take 4 over 3. But since I only have 6, I'll take 3 over 3. And I'm going to simply pull them right over these stitches. And you can see I've got 3 stitches here and 3 stitches here, being careful to keep them in the same order other than moving them over. Now I'm going to move them to my left needle tip, and I'm going to purl them each individually. So I'm going to purl 1, purl 2, purl 3, purl 4, purl 5, and purl 6. And you can give them a little tug to just tighten them up down there, and then you just continue purling as normal. All right, and now I'm ready on the wrong side of my work to work this stitch. And it's going to look exactly like the right side when I wrap, except I'm going to be purling instead of knitting because I am working stockinette. So I will purl each stitch, wrapping it 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Pull that off the needle. And I will continue to do that until I run out of this assigned pooling color. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stitches on my needle. So I'm just going to leave them here, and I'm going to come back to them on the next round on the right side of my work to finish these stitches. All right, I am now on the next row. I'm on the right side, and I have come up to the stitches that I made on my previous wrong side row, and now I need to make them into cross hatches. To do that, I'm going to slip them off of this needle, dropping the extra wraps straight onto the other needle. So I'm just going to stick my needle in purlwise and just pull them off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so now I have 6 very long stitches on my right hand needle. Now, if you have 7 or 5, if you have an odd number of stitches, the next move is what you're going to do differently. So because I've got 6, I'm going to take these 3 on the inside and I'm going to pull them over the 3 on the outside. If I have an odd number, if I have 7, then I would take the 4 over the 3. So always take the higher number over the lower number. So by taking these 3, I'll take them over the first 3 and off of the needle back to the left-hand needle. So now you can see I've got 3 stitches on my right needle and 3 on my left needle. I want to be careful to keep them in the same order so that they don't get tangled down here. And now I'm going to slide these 3 back to my left needle. And now, since I'm on the right side row, I'm just going to knit these stitches normally. 1, 2, and again, being very careful to knit them in the proper order. 3, 4, 5, 6. And then you can kind of give them a little tug, and that's all there is to it. And again, if you have 4, bring the 4 over the 3, and that'll give you more on the public side of the work. The more cross hatches will be on the public side.